Hey guys, what's going on, dudes? It is David here. We are back with another video. Now, in this video, guys, we're going to be reviewing the August 10th episode of Monday Night Raw. Now, what I have down on my list is 15 total things. Whether it's matches, whether it's segments, and we're going to basically go in every single segment and basically I'm going to be giving you my opinion about them. And then at the end of the video, we're going to be giving this Raw show a grade from an A to an F. And I just want to say, it's not an F, because this Raw was actually pretty decent, especially towards the end of the show. But the first half of the show, we'll have to see. So the first thing that they started off with was, of course, the contract signing between Dominic Mysterio and Seth Rollins. Of course, both of them called out shots at each other, saying, they're going to end their careers. Seth Rollins is talking about, oh, you shouldn't have done this, this is for the greater good. Dominic says the greater good, this is a bad thing for everyone else, and it's only good for Seth Rollins. And then that leads up into the contract signing, which makes Dominic Mysterio an official WWE superstar, and Dominic Mysterio versus Seth Rollins official at SummerSlam, which is 1 week from this Sunday, so basically next Sunday. So I think it's the 23rd of August, so that's going to be very, very interesting to see. And then Seth Rollins basically said, you need to get out of my ring now because I have a match against Humberto Carrillo. And short and simple, sweet, Seth Rollins pretty much dominated the match, finished it with a curb stomp, and then I think it was Buddy Murphy that threw Dominic Mysterio in there. They got him caught in the ropes, and they just basically did a lot of kendo shots. I think Dominic Mysterio took about like 30 kendo shots to the front and the back, so that's like 15 shots each. And dude, if I have the pictures, I'm gonna show them right here. Those must hurt. Like, to take body shots from a kendo stick, that must really, really hurt. So I can't even imagine the amount of pain that Dominic Mysterio must be in. But he's gonna have to learn. He's gonna learn now that this is stuff you have to deal with when it comes to WWE. You have to take painful shots. And then, of course, on Instagram, you have Rey Mysterio calling out Seth Rollins, say he's gone too far, which kind of continues into this. And of course, Rey Mysterio is still in discussions with WWE about his contract, so we don't really know if Rey Mysterio is going to be back or not. Hopefully, he definitely does. Moving on to the next match we had, which was Andrade versus Angelo Dawkins. Zelina Vega, before the match, talked about, oh, she had nothing to do with Montez Ford's collapse the week before. And then, the Street Angelo Dawkins came out, and then I think it was the match began. And during the match, Zelina Vega tried to get involved. Bianca Belair came out. And basically, I think it's D'Angelo or Angelo Dawkins. It's one of them. Angelo Dawkins basically beat Andrade, and then Bianca Belair attacked Zelina Vega, leading into a match between Zelina Vega and Bianca Belair, where it was actually a really, really decent matchup. Like, I expected this matchup to be like a squash, basically, but Zelina Vega did actually perform some very good moves in there. And I'd probably say it was a very, very good matchup. So, and it lasted, I'd say probably lasted about 3 minutes at least, 2-3 minutes, which is a decent amount of time for Raw, especially now considering Raw are doing a lot of shorter matches to get more people involved, which is actually a very good thing. And it can be a very bad thing, but in this instance, it was a very good thing because this match was really, really decent. Bianca Belair ended up defeating Zelina Vega, and then they did a promo talking about, oh, the Street Profits are going to beat Andrade and Angel Garza at SummerSlam, and Bianca Belair's, going to take out Zelina Vega, basically, and that was basically the promo and everything like that. And then we had the VIP lounge with MVP, basically the Hurt Business, MVP, Shelton Benjamin, and Bobby Lashley. This group is such a good group together because these three all have chemistry. Of course, these three were all in WWE at the same time before. I think it was back around the 2005-2006 era. That was when Shelton Benjamin was really, really young. But now, to have them all back, and especially in the group where they're all heel, it's like they run the company. I mean, they got the Retribution faction going on that nobody really knows who's a part of. But there are certain wrestlers that people have said that could be in that faction, but we don't really know who's like completely in that faction. And we probably won't know until probably past SummerSlam or before SummerSlam. But I highly doubt that. I highly doubt when it comes to that Retribution faction that they're gonna release any names for the members past SummerSlam. So yeah, VIP launch. You had MVP call out Apollo Crews. MVP talking about, oh, you know, like, I don't respect you, and then Apollo Crews basically says he doesn't care about Shelton Benjamin, he doesn't care about Bobby Lashley, but he cares about MVP. And at SummerSlam, he's gonna knock MVP slides out. That led up to Shelton Benjamin versus Apollo Crews. Shelton Benjamin ended up getting the win versus Apollo Crews, and then after the match, when MVP wasn't looking, Apollo Crews came in, did a kick to the back of the head, laid MVP out, ran out of the ring before Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin could come in, and that was basically the end of that segment. Then we move on into a backstage segment where we see Mickie James, who we haven't seen in a while. Of course, she was recovering from injury, but we haven't seen her in a while, and she gladly came back. And then we see probably one of the most cringiest segments I've ever seen on Monday Night Raw. Lana and Natalya come up, and Mickie James basically in like the interview said like she's gonna lead this women's divisions, and then the first line I hear from Lana is that you can't lead the women's division without a TikTok. Thank God. I mean, actually, thank God Natalya came in and took over for Lana. Because that is probably one of the most stupidest lines I've ever heard in WWE. You need the women, you can't run the women's division if you don't have a TikTok. So you're basically saying Bayley and Sasha can't run the women's division if they don't have a TikTok. That doesn't make any real sense. And thankfully, Natalya took over it, and Mickie James threw some shade at Natalya, then they threw some shade back, then Mickie James finished off, because Lana came up with the best of all time BOAT boat, because they were on a boat earlier, I think a couple months ago, so that was a real like segment going on to that. And then Mickie James basically said boats can sink, and then we move past that. And then we have the Viking Raiders, Cedric Alexander and Ricochet versus Akira Tozawa and his ninjas. Basically, short and simple, sweet. This match was probably at least less than a minute. Cedric, Ricochet, and the Viking Raiders won, and R-Truth actually was one of the ninjas, and ended up pinning Akira Tozawa, and ended up winning back his rightful 24/7 championship that he's held 38 times. But I mean, that championship is really a joke, but R-Truth has made that championship really interesting because R-Truth's character is just really funny to watch, and I'm very glad to see it. Then we have Liv Morgan versus Peyton Royce. Liv Morgan did not end up winning this match, as the win ended up going to Peyton Royce. And then they teased a little segment because I guess Ruby Riott cost Liv Morgan the win. They teased a segment where Liv Morgan didn't trust Ruby Riott, but I know this is going to lead up to a SummerSlam match where Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan are going to team against the Iconics, and they're probably going to win against the Iconics. Moving into the next match we had, because there was no real segment after that, we had Asuka versus Bayley, and Asuka ended up winning this match, which means Asuka will face Sasha Banks at SummerSlam for the Raw Women's title, where I probably would say that Sasha Banks is going to lose the Raw Women's title at SummerSlam. At least Sasha Banks has had a title reign longer than 14 days, so that's a very good thing for her, because the other title reigns, they didn't last so long. I mean, this title reign is not going to really last that long, but it's going to last longer than her previous title reigns. So that's a very good thing to see for Sasha Banks. And then they have the Raw Underground segment where it comes after, I think, 10 o'clock, and I think it goes from like 10 o'clock to 10:30. And you saw Shayna Baszler there. You saw the guy I recognize. His name is Babatunde. If you guys remember him, he was in the Greatest Royal Rumble. They changed his name now. They basically had a couple segments where, wrestlers would get squashed by other wrestlers. Shayna Baszler came in. She basically dominated 3 women, and then they threw it back to the regular Raw. And then we had Randy Orton versus Kevin Owens as the final matchup for the evening. Randy Orton ended up getting the win versus Kevin Owens. And then Randy Orton basically had Ric Flair stay and said, I got to talk to you about something. And then we had the final segment of the night. We had Randy Orton and the Ric Flair segment, which I probably say was probably the best segment of Raw. And probably made Raw really interesting to the end. I mean, we kind of saw it because it was all the rumors going around that Ric Flair was done, you know, like with this, you know, like being on TV, and he's done all of that he can do for WWE and Randy Orton. So yeah, they had to write him off, and they did a perfect way to write him off by have Randy Orton turning on Ric Flair, punt kicking him. Drew McIntyre comes out, he calls Randy Orton an SOB, and basically to end the Raw, we have Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre staring at each other, and then Drew McIntyre utters the saying, "You are a evil SOB," and that's basically just how they ended Raw for the August 10th Raw. So yeah, I look back at that. There were some exciting moments. Of course, you had Asuka versus Bayley. You had Zelina Vega versus Bianca Belair, which is actually a decent matchup. You had the segment between Ric Flair and Randy Orton, which was a really, really good segment. But then you had other segments that were kind of cringe at the beginning. I'm speaking specifically about that Lana segment, which was really, really cringe. But overall, the matches that they had are really, really good. I'd probably say when it comes to Underground segment, they need to have the matches a bit longer, because it's gonna get boring, because they're just watching wrestlers get squashed by other wrestlers, which is technically what they do on Monday Night Raw already. So it could get boring, but Underground looks like it has a lot of potential in it, so I'm very, very excited to see that. But in terms of Raw for the August 10th show, I'd probably give the grade for a show, I'd probably give it an average of a B. I'd probably give it a B, because I don't think it was average, but I don't think it was like, you know, like on that level about, you know, like just about great, because there were not a lot of good segments. I mean, when it comes to like the shows that WWE have, I'd probably say Raw is the worst one out of all of them compared to NXT and SmackDown, because they have a lot of entertaining segments on SmackDown and NXT, and they have a lot of great matches on NXT compared to SmackDown and Raw. So yeah, this show on Raw was definitely probably a B average, and we'll see how they do next week, when it's the week of SummerSlam, and we'll see how all these matches, you know, like take place, you know, like how they gear up for the matches. Seth Rollins versus Dominic Mysterio, Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre, Bianca Belair versus Zelina Vega, the Street Profits versus Angel Garza and Andrade. So yeah, we'll basically see how that goes. But anyway, guys, I want to thank you guys for watching this video. Please do smash the like button. I'll be posting more sports content for you guys to see in the coming days, so make sure you subscribe to the channel. Couldn't speak right there. Turn on the bell notification so you know my videos go live. But anyway, guys, I will see you guys all later with another video. But anyway, guys, I will see you guys all later. Peace.